Good afternoon and season's greetings to all of you, and welcome to our first webinar in December. This is Alan Salmon, and I'm pleased that so many of you have joined me today. My good friend Marilyn Benninger is backing me up as usual, and she is your go-to person for technical issues and for questions. Your microphones are muted for obvious reasons. Feel free to take notes, but be aware that in approximately 10 days, Marilyn is going to send you out a package, and that package will contain the webinar, my teaching notes, my teaching files, the answers to all the questions, and your CPD certificate. When it comes to questions, you ask them in the chat window, and after we're done, Marilyn will send the questions to Shannon and myself. We will send her back the answers, and in your package, you will get all of the questions and all of the answers. When it comes to CPD certificates, 4 times this afternoon, Marilyn is going to stop Shannon and myself and put up a polling question. That's a multiple choice question, usually 4 answers, and you don't have to get it right. What you do have to do is click on one of the choices and then click on submit. And if you're recorded as answering 3 of the 4 polling questions, you will get a CPD certificate for 1 hour of verifiable hours. If you don't, it'll be 1 hour of non-verifiable. So today we're back to Excel, and I want to focus on lookups, and I want to throw a couple of interesting things that you can do with lookups into my session today. But before we do that, Marilyn, it's time for the first polling question, please.
Thank you so much, Alan. All right, folks, you should see your screen will be changing. It should be blue. And there's a question there. We're asking if you use any of the lookup features in Excel. Your choices are VLOOKUPs, HLOOKUPs, lookups to the left, combining a VLOOKUP with an HLOOKUP, or maybe none of the above. And you're in the right room today to get information about that. We like to keep our polls open until we see 90% participation, and we're right there. So I'll be counting you down to close at 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm closing the polls, and I'm sharing the results with you now, Alan.
That's about what I expected. I'm impressed that 9% of you know how to do lookups to the left, because that's not a common feature. All right, back to me, Marilyn. So before I get started on the various lookup options, I want to review range names with you, because I use that a fair bit when I'm using lookups. So if you feast your eyes on this screen, you'll notice that I've got columns of data here. And the intent is to calculate the commission. Well, the commission is a little complicated, because if the employee has less than 3 years tenure, here's the commission rate. If they have more than 3, it's here. So you will notice when I highlight this, that up here, it's called Table 1. And this one's called Table 2. So how did we create the range name? Well, let me do one from scratch. So I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to go up here to Formulas. And I'm going to go to Define Name. And I'm going to call it Marilyn. And it already knows the range because I pre-selected it. So I click on OK. And now when we go up here to the drop-down box, which currently says E17, which is where my cursor is, notice that I have a lot of range names. At bad averages, emp list. And the key one here is Maryland, Table 1, and Table 2. So more on that to come. Now let's jump into a basic VLOOKUP. So we've got a 100-meter race, and here's the positions. And I want to know how much prize money Usain Bolt won. So that's the classic VLOOKUP. And I could type in equal VLOOKUP, but I'm going to be lazy, and I'm going to go to the FXE and just click. And notice, because I've been here a lot of times, VLOOKUP is the first choice. Click on OK, and Excel handholds me through the process. So the lookup value is that. Where do I find the answer? The table array is this. There we go. Now the index, column index number, is the column where I get the answer. And in that case, it's right there. 1, 2, 3. So I put a 3 in. And I'm going to put false here, and I'll explain why in a little bit. And I'm done. So is that right? Position 1, Usain Bolt. Now I want to copy this down, but I can't do it until I make the range absolute. So I'm going to go here and do an F4 and get my dollar signs. And I need to do it on the other side. There we go. Done. Now let's review what happens when I hit enter. It says lookup 1 in here. And when you find one in this range, get the third answer. Pretty simple. Let's do another one. Now, this is a simulated tax calculation. You would never use it for real because you've got tax programs for it. It is a great illustration of a basic VLOOKUP. So I've got an income amount here, $60,000. And then I've got two columns. Income greater than or equal to those numbers, less than or equal to those numbers, and the tax rate if the income is between 0 and $2,650. Let's do it again with the FXE. Okay. Lookup value, that's pretty simple. It's 60,000. What's the table array? Right here. Where do we get the answer? In the third column. And this time I'm going to leave the range lookup blank. And as soon as I get this done, I'm going to explain why in the previous one it was false and here it's blank. And let's change that to %. There we go. So here's what happens. It goes here, too small, too small, too small, too small, too big, and it drops back and says, that's the one I want to use because 60,000 is between 58,501 and 131,800. I go to the third column and I get 36%. If I make this 45,000, here we go. 0, 0, 0, too big, drops down to here. So this is what we call an inexact lookup because we're not looking for an exact number. It goes down here till it gets too big, which is there, and then it drops back to the previous one and it uses that. If we go back here to this one, and you notice false, the reason I need the false here is that I need an exact. I want to look up position 1 here. So there has to be a position 1, and then I get the answer. So sometimes we want it exact, sometimes we want it inexact. Let's now go and take a look at an HLOOKUP. And I'm doing exactly the same example this time, but instead of doing a VLOOKUP, I'm doing an HLOOKUP. So now the ranges are on that row and that row, and the answer is there. And the only difference this time is that I do an HLOOKUP. The lookup value is that. The table array is this. And once again, this time it's 3 down. And it's inexact, so I click on OK. 28%. Why? We go 0, 2651, 2751, drop back to there. If we make this 75,000, we get 36%. Ding, 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 ding. Too big, drop back, down 3, 36%. Next task is to combine VLOOKUPs and HLOOKUPs with this example right here. So this is a sales quote form. I'm entering the item number, I'm entering the quantity, and then from that I get all the rest of this data via VLOOKUPs and so on. So let's look at this first one here. Okay, and I'm going to explain if error in a minute, but this is an if statement. Starts out if A6 has nothing in it. In other words, the item number is blank, then put a blank in here. But assuming it isn't, then do a VLOOKUP on A6 in the table called VTable and get the answer in the third column. And it has to be exact. So I've got a lookup table here. In fact, I've got 2 lookup tables. The VLOOKUP table is here, going across. But I also have an HLOOKUP table here, and I'll get to that in a minute. So remember what we're looking up? S001 in the third column. Pretty easy. Now, when it gets to looking up the price, we've got an interesting situation here because the price varies according to the amount sold. So from 1 to 9, S001, the price is $6.99, drops to $6.92, and so on. So here's the challenge. How do we calculate the unit price? Well, if you look at this, we've got a lookup and we've got an HLOOKUP. And we solve the HLOOKUP first. And what we're doing there is finding out which column to do the VLOOKUP in. So HLOOKUP, V6, in the H table in the second row. So we go down here and we look up that and we go here. 50 is the amount sold. Second row is 7. Now we go to VLOOKUP and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we get 664. And what do we got here? 664 times 50. So there's a very elegant way of using both VLOOKUPs and HLOOKUPs. And now the challenge. And the challenge is this. In VLOOKUPs, you look something up here and you get the answer to the right always. In an HLOOKUP, you look up something and you get the answer going down. But neither of those allow you to look up to the left. However, there is a little known lookup just called plain lookup. So let's see how that works. But before we do that, I'm using range names. At bats, I'm looking averages. And I'm looking up the player. And here's the H lookup formula. I want to look up king, and that's the lookup value. So how do we calculate the average? Well, it's equal lookup. Look up the lookup value, and then find a king in here, in the players. And when you get it, go over here and pick up the average, which is 0.86. The same thing here, but this time get the answer here. So that's how we do lookups to the left. Interesting, I use it once in a while. I'm going to look at this issue here, and that is what happens when you do things like divide by something and it's 0. So in here, down here, I've got this formula, B17 divided by B16. Well, B16 is blank, so we get the div. And most people, including me, don't want that there. So there is a really cool way of not getting that there. And it's called if error, and it came in 2007. Before that, we had to do multiples if this, then that, and so on. So let's trace what's happening here. Divide C7. So this says check for an error when you divide C17 by C16. If there is an error, do a blank. Else, let the calculation flow. There's the blank. There's the calculation. And there's the blank. Cool. Now let's use that with AV lookup. With this example. So we've got a series of product numbers here, C and so on. And what I'm doing here is looking up the value of things about C003. So here's a VLOOKUP that says, look up the value of C5, which is C003 in the table, and get the answer in the third column, and it's got to be exact. And if it isn't exact, then put in item not found. So let's make this a 4. Well, let's make it a 4. And there you go. So let's bring this back to here. And on this one, I'm using multiple lookups. So I'm looking up the value of that. I'm looking up the price. And the only thing that's changing is where to get the answer. And the same thing here and here. And finally, let's look at multiple lookups. So what we've got here is this. We got sales rep year, sales commission rate, and commission. And the rate varies with 2 tables. So if they're under 3 years, then here's the commission rate. If they're more than 3 years, here's the commission rate. So let's check this. Okay. So we're saying VLOOKUP, lookup C2, which is the sales. Look at it, and if the tenure is under 3 years, go to table 1. If it isn't, go to table 2. So this is combining a VLOOKUP and an if statement. So let's check it out. Is it less than 3 years? Yes, it's 2. So let's look up 120,000 in this table. And you notice what we get, because it goes to 250 and drops back. Let's look at Hernandez. Is it less than 3? Nope. So now the commission is look up C6, go to table 2, because it's 3 years or more, and get the answer in the second column. So down here, 310,000. It drops back to here, 9.25%. So there you go. There is an overview of tables. So Marilyn, it's time for my last polling question.
Great job, Alan. Folks, we're going to be giving you the second of 4 poll questions. You should see your screen changing, and we're asking you about Outlook. Could you tell us, are you using Outlook? If you are you using Conversation View? Maybe you use drag and drop to create new appointments. Maybe you're using folders and categories to organize your inbox. And maybe you're not using Outlook at all. All of this is good information for us. And Alan's going to share with us why. When we get to 80%, we're at 85, 88. Great. 90%, I'm going to count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'll be closing the poll and sharing the results.
So 52% of you are on Office 365. Conversation View is hugely important. And Marilyn, I should have asked another question, because I should have asked how many of you are on what we call pure Outlook. So that 21% probably breaks down between that and Gmail. And this is a lead in to our mini webinar next week, and I will fix that question for next week's session. So it's time for me to take a break, Marilyn. So let's do a handoff to Shannon.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm showing my screen. Hopefully, I think you can see it now.
We do indeed. You have the comm.
Thank you so much. So welcome, everybody, to the Wolters Kluwer portion of today. This is the CCH iFirm ecosystem. And if you've been on any of these before with us, it was probably me. I tend to perform these K2E webinar series. So welcome, my name's Shannon Perrette. I'm a CPA and solution architect with Wolters Kluwer, and this is one of the products I love sharing with accounting firms. CCH iFirm is an ecosystem, that's what we like to call it. It is a cloud-based office management system that Wolters Kluwer launched just over 3 years ago. And what I really liked was it already had a global presence. So it has been around for many years. There's more than 20,000 users globally in the countries we're in. And so far in Canada, we've been able to transition more than 1,000 firms over. And why firms love it is it gives you mobile access to your firm. You don't need servers or installation or anything like that. And you have access to any of the 7 modules that you may like to pick and choose and bring into your practice to make your office more efficient. So the diagram on the left will show you the 7 different modules we do have. Today, however, we're going to focus very briefly on 4 of them in our half-hour time. We're going to talk about our central client database, which is where you're going to store your contacts and do much, much more. We're also going to talk about our portal, because we want you to be safely and securely transmitting information and sharing with your clients documents, and then also sending you source documents through the portal. Many firms have a lot of security breaches and your reputation's at risk. So we're going to talk about that module. We're going to briefly touch on our tax. So you could take your tax practice into the cloud, as well jobs and billing, which is, these are our most popular modules. So the real heart of CCH iFirm is the central client database. So we're going to start there, and really all the modules feed into that. So we're going to go right into our contacts, and then portal, jobs and billing, and iFirm tax. Here we go. For many of you who've been in some of the webinars, we do public webinars a few times a week on iFirm, and I'll just briefly go over how you get into iFirm, which is simply opening up a browser. So whether you'd like to do that on a tablet, an iPad, your mobile phone, or a laptop, wherever you may be, you just need a Wi-Fi connection and you're ready to go. You're going to put in your URL into the browser. I have my URL in there. All of you, your users and staff do have password protected login, as well multi-factor authentication, which was just rolled out this week. Just another added layer of security, because in here you have lots of sensitive data and information about your client. And we take that IT headache away from you in that we manage the security. We have a team of 6 that are securely hosting our data centers in Canada. And we back this up for you in real time. And as I said, no installation, and we keep all the versions up to date. So you know there's lots of software version releases for the software you're using. We take care of that. You don't have to worry. Everybody logs in with all the new features and functionality. You'll notice also I have multiple tabs open, and we're going to go into a number of these today, as I mentioned, but that just makes you more efficient. You don't have to leave what you're doing to go search for something. You can simply open up another tab and do the work on a different instance or tab, or drag it off to another monitor. I'm just going to collapse our side panel menu. Just want to mention our dashboard. The intent of iFirm is to have daily timesheeting, which you may presently not be doing, and you don't necessarily have to, but the intention of a real-time software program giving you a real-time view of your practice really relies on staff entering time, because as they work in your firm throughout the day within iFirm, it's going to update all of your information and give you the most current and proactive view, so you can reach out to your clients and either give them status updates or, you know, look into issues or overruns in jobs. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on dashboard, but you can imagine a dashboard is a pretty integral part of software. These are going to have widgets or reports on them, and we'll maybe pop back in here now and again. If you want to keep on top of those big jobs going on at your firm, this widget here will show that the top 10 WIP jobs. But all of our reports do allow for some filtering. We want to make the reports more relevant to the user logging in, and we're able to filter down depending on a number of different fields that will be in your environment of how you'd like to slice the view. So potentially, like today, I'm just showing that a partner just wants to see the top WIP jobs in the firm that he's responsible for or that his staff are working on. Any of these records are drill-inable, and we can also drag and drop reports around. So if there's certain information we want to see as soon as we log in, we can customize the dashboard, and the dashboard is also customized by the roles in your firm and the security settings that you're going to set for those individuals. So all the information you see on my dashboard may not potentially be available for all your staff, because you're going to create those roles and security. I'm going to click on contacts because we talked about the contacts being the central heart of iFirm, and all the modules feed into the contact records. We'll be able to get your contacts out of where they may presently be into the iFirm environment. You work with a training and learning consultant to set up and manage the onboarding into this environment. You'll notice the contacts can be categorized into the different type of contact they may be with your firm. If we click into a contact record, I want to briefly go over a few items in here. Obviously, you're going to capture the basic summary and details of your client, what type of client, phone number, address, email, that sort of information. But what you will notice due to that integration is you can find all the jobs related to your client just by simply clicking on the Jobs tab. A lot of the firms that I interview, since onboarding many of them over the last 3 years, is the quick access to information to help my clients when they call in is one of the greatest benefits of iFirm. You no longer have to put your client on hold or call them back. You're able to, or even admin staff, whoever is answering the phone could very simply go into the client's record, open up the job that the client is calling about, and provide them a status update of the job, who's working on it, any comments that have been provided. So that quick access and availability to information is what is key. The other brief thing I want to mention while we're in here is the ability to set up recurring jobs. We know more than 90% of jobs in a firm are recurring. So depending on how you are doing that today, and again, I talk to 3 or 4 or more firms per day using many different systems, client track, TPS, practice management, Excel spreadsheets. There's always somebody needing to create those jobs typically. Let iFirm do that for you. You simply just tell iFirm the type of job you want to create, how often you want it to be created, and you can even put in who may potentially be working on it, a budget, and it starts to fill your pipeline, giving you a really good view as the months continue and into the future. You can always see the work that's in your environment and in your practice. The only other areas I'm going to go into, you can see we can see the WIP and billing related to this client. We can create relationships between contacts if you have holdcos and opcos, or you want to attach a lawyer to a lawyer's contact record to this client, bankers, families. You can create relationships and do group invoicing or group reporting. You can customize iFirm in our dynamic field section and create any type of field that you'd like to capture information regarding your client. Do they like your newsletter? Do you have CASL consent? What type of bookkeeping software might they be using, right? Any type of dynamic field. And the last piece that I want to touch on that our clients really like is the ability to put in notes about the client in here. So the staff have access to it. It's no longer in our heads, no longer in a notebook. It's a central location that we can put this information. Maybe the client's going to sell their business. Maybe we want to capture the family information. So when they call in and we're making those very personal touch points, we're all about building client relationships and maintaining those by having that personal touch. But one of the best parts is the ability to send reminders. You can send reminders internally to staff if you want to send a reminder to a staff 3 months from now to arrange a meeting with your client, or maybe you want to send out a reminder to your client about their HST filing on the 10th of every month. This is an example of a reminder letting our client know we know their year end is coming up and we're excited to work with them again. Get your items in order and give our office a call and we'll meet. These go out from iFirm. You customize the look of the email going out. You don't have to remember to do it. You don't have to do it isolated in Outlook or another email provider. It's within iFirm. It's visible to those who have access, and you never have to worry. They can repeat on whatever interval you'd like them to repeat. So I often have some very good feedback on the notes and reminders section. You are going to invite your clients to Portal within this environment as well. And one of the things I do like to ask, so I'm actually going to have Marilyn queue up a question right now. I'd love to know, and Marilyn, it's the question of how many places are you updating your client's information right now? So let's queue up that poll for everybody, and I will touch on that a little bit.
So you should see the question. Yeah, you should see the question there, folks. We all have lots of lists and software that we have to manage. Just want to get a sense of who's on the call today. When you think about how many places you have to update client contact information, does it fall in 1, 2, 3, 4, and geez, we hope not more than 5, but there may be some out there. We're already at 90%. Nice, easy question. Perfect. So I'm going to count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm closing the poll. Do you see the results, Shannon, or should I read them for you?
I can't really see the numbers, but I see the graph.
Okay, so there's 55% of people on the call have 1 place to update their information, 27% it's 2, 11% of people on the call have 3 places to update, 4% have 4 places, and there's 3% of the folks on the call have 5 or more different places to update their client contact information.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. I love this question because I do speak, as I said, with accountants all day long, lots of different accounting firms, and 5 is the most I've heard, but I did throw in the or more. And one thing about our integrated platform is you don't want to have to update that information in multiple places. And due to an ecosystem like iFirm, if I were to update an address here, it's going to update that same field that is in any other module within iFirm, that being specifically iFirm Tax, which we're going to go in. And we've got the ability to just change it in one place now, and it updates it in the other areas. That's the same with any field, but specifically for contacts, that's something where we're always at risk for. We don't want to have a different address in one place and another address, the address in a different in another place, because there's the risk we're going to present that to the client incorrectly, and it also takes that time to go searching for it. So being that, the integrated platform has that ability, I also wanted to let anybody on the phone know if you have tax prep, which is a Wolters Kluwer CCH tax preparation software, it also links and integrates with the contacts. And if you update it in tax prep, it can be synced and updated in the contact of iFirm and vice versa. So a two-way synchronicity, and our tax prep clients love that. But let's move on to Portal. Portal is a safe, secure way you're going to be able to send information to your clients. It is not new technology, but it is future technology. This is now becoming a general communication hub. Your first step, as I pointed out, is inviting your clients to Portal. Once they have been invited, they're going to register and accept. They're going to create a username and password, and you're now linked. So for example, if I worked for you and I wanted to send ABC Pharmacy some documents, I'd simply click on the client's name. I'd click on a document tab. I'd be able to click into whatever folder, and you're going to create a default folder structure. I'm going to click into a folder. I'm going to click upload, and I can select the files that I want to send my client, or I can drag and drop them here, and they're going to be uploaded in seconds, and my client will be emailed as soon as I've uploaded those documents. The client is emailed automatically. So I never have to worry that, or never have to worry that they aren't notified, and I don't have to go through the process of notifying them. The client clicks on the link, they have their username and password, and they can download safely and securely the information I've put in Portal. So we have more than 50 different extension of documents that you'll be able to load into Portal to send safely and securely. So your clients can send you source documents, you can deliver final documents, and of course you can provide lawyers or bankers or others access to this as well in a folder that is potentially denying permission to the other folder. So you can do that as well. The Portal is integrated with our iFirm Tax module as well. So you'll be able to push out from iFirm Tax completed documents to the Portal, which I will show you as well. We're going to pop into the jobs now, though. This is the best part of iFirm. Most clients, I'll come back to my, sorry, Marilyn, I'll come back to my second question in a moment. Most clients really struggle in tracking jobs. And what we've done is we've put jobs, we've put timesheets, we've put invoicing and AR in here. And where we're looking at right now is in the jobs and billing section is this interactive area called jobs. You want to be able to quickly find all the jobs that are going on at your firm. And we've done a bit of the filtering for you. You can look for all the jobs, all the open jobs. If you want to look at completed or closed, that's on the far right as menus. You can look at in progress, unallocated jobs. So it's an interactive search area with some filtering done for you already. The best part, though, is the advanced search. Are you a partner at a firm, potentially? You can say, well, I want to find all the jobs within my whole firm that have a status that's ready for me. So I can isolate all the work very quickly that I might be responsible for. Or maybe I'm just one of those partners, so I can filter it further and just focus on any of the jobs that are in my name that I need to focus on today. You can do that for your resources. If you want to look up a specific staff member, any job types that you might have in your firm, you can look up client information here. You can look for jobs that are overdue, due in the future. This is essentially your pipeline of information, very easy to find and isolate the different jobs going on at your firm. Everybody at your firm, though, wants to be able to find what they're working on. So they can always click on jobs assigned to me, and I'm logged in right now, so it's showing, Shannon, these are all the jobs within our whole firm that you are on, that you have hours you need to work on with whatever type of work that I'm responsible for on these jobs. So we're going to go into a job, but this is a way for every staff member at your firm to find what is on their plate. And it's quick, it's simple, it's interactive. We don't have to run a report on this and print anything out because it's going to change in 20 minutes or a half hour because people are still working in the product. Let's go back to dashboard though, because if I want to find the work on my plate, this is a great dashboard widget that shows me this notice to reader is the top job I need to be working on right now. So I'm working on this job, and what I want to share with you is we've set this job up. That's great. We've got all the jobs set up on the left-hand side, the amount, like what we're going to charge our client, who's working on it, what, target end dates we have. But this is your budget on the right-hand side. Who's going to be working on it at your office, and how many hours do they get to complete their work? This is essentially your budget. You may not be doing this now, and that's okay. The intent of iFirm, though, was to create a job, create a budget, and then when the hours go in for the staff, you're going to add the hours on this job. And what you're going to do is you're going to start to see some statistics. We're all about wanting to get more efficient. So we've got to think further than today. I think of a year down the road. As you complete more notice to reader jobs, you're going to start to see job profitability reports, client profitability reports. You're going to start to see some statistics. How long is it taking us to do these jobs? Is it taking us 18 hours? So we've freed up some time for our staff. Is it taking us 26 hours? And we need to adjust what we're charging our clients. Think about that now. I challenge you, how are you doing that if you're doing that in your office now? Most clients I talk to don't have the resources, the tools, or an integrated platform to give that information just by completing the work in here. It's usually Excel-based. You're pulling it from multiple softwares and massaging that. I'm a very analytical CPA, and our clients are telling us those pieces are giving them ways of tweaking their processes and getting more efficient, getting better, making more money, less write-offs. It's just fantastic. I wish they had this when I was working in a firm doing that type of work. So a job, you create a job, you add your budget. There are some things on here I'm going to mention, and I'm not going to go too deeply into it based on our time, but we've got custom fields here that you can add to a job. We've got checklists where you can have staff check off as they've completed the different things you would like them to complete off on this job. It also gives you the traceability as to who check marked it off and when. You're going to be able to track, are your staff over? Did you give them hours and they're now putting in more time than you wanted? Guess where that happens to show up? If you're a manager or partner, you're going to want to keep an eye on your dashboard and look for those variances where you gave staff hours, they're putting in more time than you wanted, and you want to catch that before you're going to go invoice your client. Maybe the job's only 70% done and your staff are already blowing through the budget. You want to have that information at hand and be more proactive and either connect with your client, you're going to charge them more, or maybe work with your employees because they're struggling in completing the work in the time you wanted them. As we continue through filling out, the job, we can add comments. The staff should be adding comments as to what's happening. Those are great when you're coming in at the end. We want to update the status of a job. We're going to move the job into different statuses that you customize. We can move it to the different staff members that are going to next be working on it, so we can easily update the status. We want to add our time, whether we're going to add timers. Do you like timers, hate timers? Again, lots of feedback on timers. We've got timers, but we can also add time in units or in start or end blocks. So lots of ways you can add time. We can simply, put in what it was we were doing and add our time. The timesheet shows up and it is linked to a job that we're working on. Now let's quickly look at invoicing. You've created the job all the way to the end when you're invoicing it. You create a draft invoice for this notice to reader. You create a description you would like on the invoice. You can add WIP lines from other work that you might be doing with the client, or do some group invoicing by adding WIP from other holdco, opcos, or connected related clients. And once you're done, you finalize it, you send it off, and you email it out to your client, or print it. Highly recommend email. You create a template. Your clients get this email. They click view your invoice, and guess what they have? They can see a really nice email, PDF version of your invoice with your firm logo and information. So that's a little bit about jobs, and that is our most popular module because it's giving firms visibility into the jobs, into their pipeline, into what staff are doing, into their WIP, and it's all in one module. Now, let's quickly transition to tax. I'm going to go first into the tax module. So we have our T1s, T2s, forms has released, and our T3s are going to be coming in February 2019. This is your client manager. So this is you managing your we're going to have 2018 shortly, but these are the 2018 returns 2017 returns we're working on. If you want to roll forward profile, tax cycle, CAN tax, DT max, and tax prep, you can roll forward. You can, filter down these columns to find different information or find returns in specific statuses. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in here because let's go into an actual tax return. So this gentleman I've imported from Tax Prep. I have years and years of data for this specific individual. So it's opening up Ken's return, and we've got visibility to prior year. If you are familiar with Tax Prep and CAN tax, we're not necessarily able to. We have to open up last year's T1 in another install, but within a browser-based software, we have access to the different years. So when 2018 comes, we'll be able to see 2018, click into the full 2017, full 2016. We've got the whole family linked here. The platform looks identical. You're going to retrieve, use that CRA autofill return service. You're going to then go to the prepare. And the Prepare tab is many different views, so list of open forms, diagnostics. We have 6,000 diagnostics, almost double our nearest competitor. We have a 98% e-file acceptance rate after our 2 T1 tax seasons with this product, which means your returns are going in right, less post-assessment issues. You're going to be able to isolate the reviews as well, review marks that the staff are doing, whether it's a first review, second review, question, or problem. We can have a look at that. We can actually go to the diagnostics. You can find the diagnostic quickly. You can add a comment. You're going to see when you've done a review or added a comment, it lets you know who did that and when. So you've got that traceability. And let's just look at, you can find the comments very quickly as well. Very simple to open up forms. If you want to open up a form, you just search in our forms. There's 400 forms in the T1, 450 in the T2. You can jump to source very quickly, which most people really like to do. And we can also double click as well, and it's going to open up the T1. If you want to add, typically you're using, the CRA autofill. But if you want to add another return, it's very simple. You just click the add button. It'll add a new T1 for you. Want to quickly mention the entry box. So if you want to do your entry here, the staff can do that. They don't have to, go search for the form and enter it. The quick entry really helps. We also have the ability for you to attach spreadsheets. So that's pretty common. When you have business expenses, your clients can send you spreadsheets. You may want to send them first a Excel spreadsheet that you want them to fill out for you, but you've got a spreadsheet option. So whether you want to import the spreadsheet they sent you, create a spreadsheet they sent you, You can see that spreadsheet linkage here. You just let iFirm know which value you want brought back into the client's return, and it'll be brought back in. And once you've done the prepare, you can do the review. The review, obviously, very simple and easy to review. You've got all your cells with data. And the beauty, again, of an integrated platform is if you wanted to make any changes, you can just do them. You can just do them in here. If you know that the T1 value is wrong, which it probably wouldn't be because you're using CRA autofill, you change it here, it'll update that it'll update that field in the other parts of the module. I just want to mention you can publish to portal directly from here, which then I want to touch on, Marilyn, that second polling question. So while this is good, we're going to push out the client copy to my client Ken in his portal. While we're publishing that, because it takes about 10 seconds, why don't we pull up the second question, Marilyn? How are you currently communicating with your clients? Are you using a portal provider, password protected PDF, email, USB, or nothing? So I'd love to know the answer to that.
Okay, folks, this is the last of the 4 questions. We did have a couple of people that were late, so they missed the first question. As long as you answer 3 or 4 during our webinar, you are eligible for 1 verified PD credit. Everybody is quick off the mark here, Shannon, so we're already at 90%. I'm going to count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and let's see how people are communicating with their clients. So a portal provider came in at 23%. Password protected PDFs is 19%. The vast majority, 78% of folks are still using email to communicate with their clients. 7% use USB, and the last 14%.
Wow, okay.
Nothing.
So you really, really need to lock down this information. Your clients are expecting you to, and we need to. It's our reputation on the line. So what I've done, I just want to quickly show you. I've published the completed T1 to Ken's portal. I know we just have a minute left, and that's okay. I'm going to wrap this up in just a sec. Ken has already received an email. Ken can log into his portal and get his client copy of his T1 safely, securely in his hands. We don't have to email. We don't have to do anything, and it's super fast and simple, especially when we're pushing it out from the platform within the iFirm environment. So that really wraps up my portion. The only last pieces I want to mention, we have some new items, a document management module we've added, so you can put all your documents in iFirm. We had that multi-factor authentication e-signatures coming in 2019. And last but not least, get your free trial today of iFirm. The link at the bottom is go2.wolterskluwer.ca/K2E 2018. It's a 2-week trial, 5 free returns for a T1, and you get access to the entire ecosystem. And always ask for a private demo if you want to reach out to us or your Wolters Kluwer sales rep, because that's what I spend most of my day doing, is one-on-one with you. So thank you so much. It's been an honor being with you today. Thank you for your time, Alan, as well, for inviting me.
There we go. Shannon, I was fascinated by your last question. If I had been doing it, I would have added either another question or modified one of your questions to this. How are you communicating sensitive data to your clients and vice versa? Because to me, that's a huge issue. And by the way, folks, when you do the wrap, you know that you're going to create or going to ask to be filled into a survey. I now have additional information on the hotel breach that was announced last week. And if in your comments you put, send me the hotel information, I'd be happy to do that. And it contains everything you need to do to either check your email or to get their free year's service and so on. So on that note, I want to thank you all. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Shannon. It's a wrap.